The problems with the Trinity. The Trinity is a concept in mainstream Christianity and is usually a requirement to be a Christian. However, this idea has logical problems I will explain in this video. The concept of the Trinity is that there is one divine nature which is shared by three persons: Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Each divine person is different from each other but still shares the same singular divinity, so all divine persons are co-equal and co-eternal. Therefore, there is one divine being, God, in three persons. Redefines God as a substance. In the Trinity, God is defined as a substance shared by three persons, and therefore God is no longer a singular supreme being. More like a species. If three divine persons are all divine and only share a common nature, this makes God seem like a species in the way all humans are distinct and share a human nature, which would make the Trinity polytheistic. System above God. If God has always existed in a Trinity and this can never change, this means there is a system above God and outside of God's control, which means God is not all-powerful and not absolutely sovereign. Redefines person, being, and nature. In the definition of the Trinity, the phrases being, which is equivalent to a person, is redefined to be equivalent to a nature, while a personhood is differentiated from being, and so the concepts of what something is and who something is are confused. Lack of similarity to a family. The eternal relationship between God the Father and God the Son is often compared to a human family and used as a model for fathers and sons. However, the Holy Spirit has no equivalent in a human family, which leaves the third person of the Trinity as an anomaly in the divine relations. No time for intertrinitarian life. The three divine persons of the Trinity supposedly interact with each other. However, since God is believed to exist in eternity and be outside of time, then these relations would have no time to exist. Damning the Son. It is believed that there is only one divine will shared by all persons of the Trinity. However, when Jesus died on the cross, the Father punished Jesus in humanity's place for mankind's sins. This means the Father damned the Son, which would conflict the two wills of the divine persons, which contradicts the idea that there is only one divine will shared by all members of the Trinity. Eternally begotten is an oxymoron. In the Trinity, Jesus is defined as the eternally begotten Son of God the Father. However, if Jesus is eternal, then there was never a time when he didn't exist, and begotten implies there was a time when he was not begotten. Begotten means being brought into existence, so this means there was a time when Jesus didn't exist and there wasn't a time when he didn't exist. Therefore, the term eternally begotten is an oxymoron and contradicts itself, as Jesus cannot be God and the Son of God at the same time. Begotten is not equivalence. Jesus is described as the begotten Son of God, which indicates that Jesus shares the same nature as God the Father and therefore is God. However, being the begotten son of someone does not make a person the equivalent of their father. A simple example of this is how sons are not the same beings as their fathers, even if they were begotten of their nature. Jesus is inferior to the Father. Throughout the Gospels, Jesus affirms that he is inferior compared to the Father, which undermines the claim that Jesus is of the same nature as the Father. The Holy Spirit is not eternally proceeding. The Holy Spirit is believed to eternally proceed from the Father, as the Holy Spirit is co-eternal as God. However, Jesus clearly says the Holy Spirit will be sent in the future, meaning the Holy Spirit had not been sent at that time, so there was a time when the Holy Spirit had not proceeded, which makes the Holy Spirit not co-eternal, so not divine. Lack of precedent. In the Old Testament, there is no concept of a triune God at all, and so the Trinity is a later development. If God was guiding the prophets of the Old Testament, it is strange that for all of history prior to the New Testament, God was believed to be a unitary person. Thanks for watching. I will make my next video about problems with the incarnation as soon as I can.